Just be yourself. It's maybe the most common dating advice, and it's maybe the worst dating advice for most of you out there. Let's talk about that coming up next. What's good, everyone? Mario here. In this video, what I want to do is shift your perspective towards this conventional dating advice that you've been exposed to and are very familiar with, which is just be yourself. You've heard it from friends, family, TV, film, media, even supposed experts giving out this advice. Whenever we talk about dating, you're sure to hear this message of just be yourself. But here's the thing, is that actually great advice? Well, on one hand, just being yourself, who can argue with that? I'm not trying to say that being authentic, there's anything wrong with that. I'm on board. However, I think that's really fucking simple, all right? We're saying just be yourself. How? How do you do that? What are the details? Can I get an explanation? How do you accomplish that? Just being yourself, because for anyone who's heard that advice, just be yourself, you're like, okay, well, what the fuck does that mean? And then how do I do it? So there's obviously something missing from that advice. And that's why I think this is kind of, well, I do think it's very irresponsible to just go around throwing out that advice of just being yourself is going to solve everything. No, there are details, there's nuance, there's an explanation that you need to be exposed to better understand what actually just being yourself means and sort of the limits of that sort of advice. So I want to get to that in this video. And what we want to do is make sure that you, well, shift your actions and shift your beliefs towards this advice of just being yourself. So to do that, we have to shift your awareness and your knowledge. So that's why I'm going to give you 10 reasons why just being yourself isn't actually great dating advice. So let's get into it. Let's get started. Number one, in life and love, we don't get what we want. We get what we qualify for and earn. I want you to think about your professional experience because it very much follows the same pattern as your life and your love life. So think about your current professional experience, okay? Your job title or position, how much money you're making, your experiences, your success. I want you to ask yourself, did you get to where you are professionally through a random nature? Was there luck involved? Was it chance? Was there divine intervention? Or did you qualify for and earn it? I think you know that answer. I think you know that you qualified for and earned wherever you're at right now through your education, your experience, or your effort. It wasn't just a matter of, well, I want this job, so I got it. I wanted a promotion, so I got it. I wanted to make more money, so I just got it. No, qualify and then earn. And those are two separate processes, qualifying and then earning. I mean, you qualify for a job through maybe a degree, but you don't get the job because of that degree. You have to earn it in your interview. You have to sell them on your skills. So it's not just about qualifying. Qualifying isn't enough. It puts you in the ball game, but you still have to earn it, okay? And I want you to understand that this is the same thing when it comes to your personal life. We don't get what we want. We get what we qualify for and earn, whether it's friendships, relationships, dates, or whatever that you want from life, all right? So we have to qualify for things and earn them. You don't get a friend just because you want a friend. You don't get a date just because you want a date. You don't get a relationship with someone amazing without qualifying for dating them and then qualifying for a relationship with them and earning it, okay? Everything is a process of qualifying for and earning in life and in love. And that's important to understand because when you get this advice regarding your love life of just be yourself, what does that do? I'll tell you what it does for most people. It encourages them to kind of stay stuck and stay still when people don't need to remain their same selves. They need to branch out. They need to grow. They need to become maybe not an inauthentic version of themselves, but a better version of themselves. And I don't think that is too much of a sort of statement that we should be arguing about. Like, hey, stop saying that you should just be yourself. That's awesome if you're already amazing, but if you've got some things to work on, go for it because life isn't going to give you what you want. You have to get out there and qualify for it and then earn it. Number two, what if the current you is not someone that people respect, like, or desire? For people like that, getting the advice of just be yourself is the worst thing that they could hear because you know what? They have all the evidence in the world, the people have spoken, and they don't like that person. They don't respect, like, or desire that person. So why would you remain that person? That doesn't make sense, does it? Now, I'm not saying go ahead and be inauthentic or put on a show and be someone else that you're not. I'm just saying you could be yourself, but better. You could make some improvements on the outside, on the inside, wherever they need to be made, but there is a lot of evidence that there is some change that is necessary. If you're not satisfied with your results and people don't actually respond to you positively, they don't respect you, like you, or desire you, you have an issue. Now, I know it's triggering for many people when I say, like, hey, you're gonna have to maybe change something about your appearance or something on the inside. Immediately, people think that we're talking about their biggest insecurity or their biggest issue. Maybe we are. But so fucking what? If you have issues to work on the outside that are affecting you from getting the results that you want, you're gonna have to fucking change. And maybe that's the thing that needs to change. Maybe it's not. But we will find out if you make an effort to do something rather than just being yourself, because you see what that got you, okay? So, for the people who are maybe not necessarily being liked, respected, or desired like they want to be by others, just being yourself is terrible advice. They need to actually do some things that are uncomfortable. We all do, but especially that person. That person does not need to hear the message of just stay the way you are, just be yourself. That shit is terrible advice for someone that people don't like, respect, or desire. Number three, growth and self development are not inauthentic. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves just how natural and necessary change is, and also that we often have a choice which direction we're going to change in. Hopefully, we choose for the better and not for the worse. Now, as an example, let's think about who we were 10 years ago versus who we are now. I'll bet over those past 10 years, you were experiencing a lot and you had some education that really impacted who you were. Are you so different? Are you an inauthentic version compared to who you were 10 years ago? Or are you still the same person, but plus some education, plus some experience, plus some wisdom, right? That made you better for life and maybe the games of love too. So let's remind ourselves that growth and self development, it doesn't change who you are, it adds to who you are. Your essence isn't changing. So let's remember that, for the people who think that, well, you don't have to change, just be yourself. No, change is very natural, it's necessary, and I'm going to choose which direction I'm going to change in because I want to succeed more. Number four, in life and love, success is correlated with competence. Not luck, not chance, it's not random, not divine intervention. Your successes in life and love are going to be correlated with your competence. And that's important to understand because when we're talking about your dating life, whatever level of success or failure, that's going to be correlated with your competence for that area. And you know what? Maybe there are some areas where you're struggling and not having the best results. It's okay to acknowledge that you don't have the best competence because then you can do something about that. And that's one of the reasons why I find this advice of just be yourself to be so irresponsible because just being yourself, if you don't change anything, you're just going to keep on getting the same results that you qualify for and earn. So you're not going to be able to count on randomly or just by chance or luck or divine intervention having these amazing results just be dropped upon you. You've been waiting on that plan for a while, and it's not a very good strategy because you know the results. You don't get very many of them from luck, chance, or divine intervention, do you? So we have to remember that when we're getting this advice of just be yourself, we have to remember that your success is not going to be related to luck or anything having to do with that. It's going to be correlated with your competence. Number five, if it's such great advice, why hasn't it worked for you? Let's be real. Most of us have been exposed to this advice and tried to use it since adolescence. So that's a lot of years for most of us and a lot of opportunities for us to see if this is great advice, if it works for us. And here's the thing. I think that you've had more than enough experience and opportunities to experiment and find out if it works for you. Bottom line is, if it's not working for you yet, you're not one of those whom it applies to because, yes, just be yourself is good advice for those who are more of a finished product, who have less to work on, who have achieved more of the potential. But I think most of us, we fall into the category of having some room to grow, some things that we need to improve, maybe some weaknesses we need to address and combat and overcome. I think that's most of us. So if you're using this advice still of just be yourself unsuccessfully, it's time that we wake up and realize that how many times do we need to continue doing the same thing before we realize that either this is a poor strategy or we're executing it poorly because something is not working, right? So I think we just need to recognize if it worked, you would know it by now. And if it was such great advice that the entire world would probably already by now be like, hey, stop fucking around. The only thing that you need to do is just be yourself. That's the most important thing. But you know what? We don't really believe that. We don't believe that this one thing or this one strategy is it. I think we just know that this is the most common and the most popular advice that we can give and receive. So it just seems like very familiar. So we just keep on repeating the cycle. It doesn't make it the best. Number six, who's giving this advice of just be yourself? Is it friends, family, TV, film, media? Who's giving this advice? Because in life and love, one of the biggest questions that you have to answer is who are you going to listen to? And the truth is, most people don't know who they're supposed to listen to. And if that's you right now, if you don't have a great explanation, like just off the tip of your tongue about who you're supposed to listen to, let me give you a brief sort of answer, okay? You should listen to people who have what you want to have, who do what you want to do, and who are who you want to be. That's about it. So you shouldn't listen to people who don't qualify under those conditions. So it's like this: if I were to give you mechanical advice for your car, if there were an issue, you shouldn't listen to shit I have to say because I'm not an expert and I'll probably fuck your shit up, okay? Don't listen to my mechanical advice when you're working on your car or thinking about getting some work done. I don't know what I'm talking about. And most people don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the games of love. They have good intentions, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get good results from them. All right, most people are just regurgitating what they've been taught, and that doesn't make what they were taught right. It just makes that they're just repeating a cycle, okay? So when mom gives you that advice of just be yourself, say thanks, but it needs to go in one ear and out the other. Number seven, it's a cop out. And I think it's a cop out for everyone involved. For the party who is offering this advice of just be yourself, come on, 3 words. It's your love life. Do you think 3 words of advice is really going to cut it? And probably you didn't even get much of an explanation of how to do it or what it means. Come on, what's going on is really that people are just, one, they are giving you information or a strategy that they were taught, so they're just repeating what they were taught. Whether it works or not is a whole different ball game. And two, they're protecting you and their relationship with you. They're not going to tell you anything that is going to piss you off or make you angry at them. So it's really not in their best interest if they have a relationship with you to tell you anything really cutting that might actually hurt for a little bit, but might be exactly what you need to hear about improving yourself in a certain area. And it's also maybe a cop out for the person who is getting this advice because, come on, you know that just being yourself, it's really sort of code for don't change, just keep on doing you. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to do anything on the inside or the outside. That's really what people are hearing and taking from that message, and we're all sort of playing along. Now, how productive is that for most people who are unsuccessful in their dating lives to just continue being themselves? Not very productive. So we need to remember that when it comes to this advice of just be yourself, be smart. Number eight, what if they're wrong? What if the people who are offering you this advice of just be yourself are wrong? Because let's think about this. Over the course of your lifetime, you've heard this advice so often and you've tried it very many times, I'm sure. And how successful has it been for you? Probably not that successful, right? So, what's the harm when someone tells you to just be yourself? The harm is that you're going to continue just being yourself and not a better version of yourself. So, the current version of yourself is going to get the current results. So nothing is going to change. And that's the harm. You're going to miss out on opportunities and time is going to pass you by because you're not changing. You're not improving. You're going to get the same fucking results that you've been getting that you're not happy with. But you're happy with that input, that advice when people tell you just be yourself because it essentially is saying you don't have to change. Someone will like you for who you are. The right person will come along or any of that bullshit. When the truth is, you're just delaying success. Why delay success when it's something as important as your love life? What I say is that there's nothing more important to your happiness in life than a happy love life. So why are you delaying making that happen? You won't be as happy in your lifetime if you figure this shit out at 80 rather than at a much younger age. All right, just being yourself isn't going to cut it. All right, don't learn that lesson when you're 80 years old. Learn it now. There's nothing wrong with being a better version of yourself because if they're wrong, well, there's a lot at stake. Your whole fucking lifetime, a whole lot of happiness, and a whole lot of opportunities that are going to pass you by. Number nine, you're not just being yourself anyway. In the games of life and especially love, we have to acknowledge that anytime there's this element of wanting to or needing to impress, we modify ourselves. We're less authentic, okay? We change the things that we say or do to make a better impression or get a better result. So you have to understand that that's going to happen. That's going to be there anyway. You can't get rid of all inauthenticity. You're going to hold on to some, and that's okay because that's what we do in life. We can't help it. We're going to change ourselves and sort of put our best face forward for people and situations. That's going to happen, but we just don't want to go off the deep end into totally being inauthentic and just presenting something totally fake. But yeah, when we're on a date, guess what? Your first date, I'll bet you're not farting. I'll bet you're not burping. I'll bet you're not cursing up a storm. I'll bet you're using better language. And I'll bet you cared about your physical appearance. And let's be real, you're like, well, I care about my physical appearance all the time. Sure, but for that date, if it didn't matter, if you had your preference, would you have shaved? Would you have done your hair and makeup if it wasn't going to matter and it was only up to you and you didn't care about that impression because you knew it would be great anyway? Or Do you do those things because you want to put yourself in a position to make a better impression and get a better outcome? So understand that. Part of the issue with just being yourself is not just that it's basic and the advice is just not explained well or lacks any sort of nuance or details. It's that it's impossible to live up to. And not it's something good to strive for, but at the same time we have to acknowledge that, we haven't actually ever in our lives done a really good job of just being ourselves since we were children. So remember that. Number 10, it's irresponsibly basic and extreme. We have to understand and recognize that for anyone who is struggling in their love life, if they go to someone whose input they appreciate, value, and respect, and they get the advice of just be yourself and you'll be good. No, you're not, because you just got some very basic advice. It's 3 words and it lacks details, explanation, nuance. You don't really understand what it means to be yourself or how to do it. Come on, just be yourself and get the fuck out of here. You got this. No, that's terrible advice because it's way too basic and it's extreme. Because what it does is it encourages people to lean into who they are, and it's being given as advice to people who don't need to lean into who they are 100% because who they are is not really getting great results, great outcomes. So there are things that they need to improve, change, remove. But instead, what you're telling somebody is, fuck all that sort of reflection and work on yourself on the inside, on the outside. Just be yourself. Just and lean into it. Go all the way in. And if somebody likes you, they do. And if they don't, that's their fucking problem. No. We need to understand that you can take a little bit off. All right. Everyone can. And that doesn't make you a terrible person. And there we have it, 10 reasons why the advice of just be yourself is maybe the worst dating advice that someone who's struggling with their results can receive. If you have anything to sort of say about this, do you agree, disagree with any of the things that I said? Anything that you would want to add? Throw them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you all have to say about this. You all take care. Until the next video. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you believe that learning about better strategies for life and love is advantageous, I invite you to join Get Game Group. Membership is free, open to men and women, offers weekly game video lessons, and a weekly mailbag for member submissions. Click the link in the description to join.